The stars around the forgotten sector were silent. No ships came here anymore. No signals crossed this dark part of space. Even pirates stayed away. Across the galaxy, people feared only one place. The Graves Station, an ancient alien war station floating near a dead moon. For thousands of years, it stayed cold and lifeless. No lights, no movement, no survivors. Every alien empire believed the same thing. Anything that entered never returned. But today, something impossible happened. A red light suddenly turned on inside the dead station, then another, then another. Deep inside a frozen metal chamber, something moved. A long, sleeping machine slowly opened. Cold smoke filled the dark room. A man suddenly took a deep breath. He opened his eyes, confused. Weak, alone. His name was Captain Ethan Cross. And according to history, he should have been dead for almost 300 years. Ethan slowly sat up inside a broken cryopod. Everything hurt. His head felt heavy, his body weak. He looked around. The room was dark and covered in dust. Broken alien symbols glowed softly on the walls. "What is this place?" he whispered. No answer came, only silence. He touched the side of his neck. His military tag was still there. Earth Defense Command. His breathing slowed. Earth. The last thing he remembered was war. A terrible war. Humanity fighting against enemies too powerful to stop. Fire in the sky, cities burning, soldiers dying, then darkness. That was all he remembered. Suddenly, a robotic voice echoed through the chamber. "Warning. Unauthorized life form detected." Ethan instantly stood up. His military training returned like a reflex. He looked around carefully. "Who said that?" he asked. No answer. Then heavy sounds echoed far away. Boom, boom, boom. Something huge was moving. Inside the station, Ethan's heartbeat became faster. He searched the room and found an old metal locker. Inside was something unexpected. His combat suit, still untouched, his plasma pistol, a survival knife, and a damaged military rifle. Someone had prepared this. But who and why? A strange feeling moved through his chest. This was not random. Someone wanted him awake. Far above him, giant metal doors slowly opened for the first time in centuries. Dust fell like rain. Hidden machines began waking up. Across empty hallways, red warning lights turned on. Then came the strange message. "Primary Commander has returned." Ethan froze. "Commander, who are they talking about?" He was only a captain, nothing more. Before he could think longer, the station suddenly shook violently. The lights flickered. A loud explosion echoed somewhere nearby. Then another robotic voice spoke. "Hostile ships detected." Ethan frowned. Hostile ships. Already, he moved toward the chamber exit. The metal door opened with a loud sound. What he saw outside made him stop breathing. The station was enormous. Massive, dark hallways stretched for miles. Giant alien weapons lined the walls. Huge war machines stood frozen like sleeping monsters. Everything looked ancient and dangerous. Then, he noticed something strange. The walls carried symbols he somehow understood. Even though they were alien, one sentence stood glowing in red. "Only the last soldier may awaken the fortress." Ethan stared at it. His chest tightened. The last soldier. What did that mean? A broken screen nearby suddenly turned on. Static covered the image, then a face appeared. An old alien with glowing silver eyes. "If you are seeing this," the alien said slowly, "then humanity has fallen." Ethan's stomach dropped. "No," he whispered. The alien continued. "The galaxy failed to protect your species. But there is still hope. This station was built for one purpose: to destroy the enemy that ended worlds." Ethan stepped closer. "What enemy?" he asked. The screen glitched violently, and one terrifying image appeared. Thousands of giant black ships, bigger than planets, moving through burning star systems. The alien voice returned. They are coming again. They destroyed civilizations before humans existed. And now, the screen suddenly cracked. They know you are awake. Everything went dark. For a moment, silence returned. Then alarms exploded through the station. Bright red lights flashed everywhere. A mechanical voice thundered through every hallway. Enemy fleet detected. Estimated arrival. The station paused, then spoke again. 17 minutes. Ethan slowly looked out through a giant broken window. Far away in deep space, tiny lights appeared. At first they looked harmless, then they started growing larger and larger and larger. His face turned pale. It was not one ship, not 10, not even 100. It was an entire fleet. Coming directly toward the station, then something behind Ethan suddenly moved. A massive shadow slowly stood up in the darkness. Metal footsteps echoed through the hallway. Boom, boom, boom. A deep mechanical voice spoke from behind him. Command. Authorization confirmed. Ethan slowly turned around and froze. A giant war machine taller than a building was staring directly at him. Then it said something impossible. Welcome back, Commander of Humanity. Ethan could not move. The giant machine stood before him like a mountain of steel. Its glowing blue eyes stayed fixed on him. The station alarms screamed around them. Outside, the broken window. The enemy fleet kept getting closer, yet the machine calmly lowered its head. Commander confirmed. It said again. Awaiting orders. Ethan looked confused. I think you have the wrong person, he said. I am not your commander. The machine became silent for a moment. Then strange lights moved across Ethan's body. It was scanning him. Human DNA confirmed, the machine answered. Final military authority of Earth detected. Ethan's chest felt heavy. Final military authority, those words did not sound. Right, what happened to Earth? He asked quickly. The machine did not answer. Instead, the station suddenly shook again. A loud explosion echoed far away. Dust fell from the ceiling. Then another warning voice filled the hallway. Outer defense shields at 14%. Enemy scouts approaching. The giant machine turned toward the hallway. We must move, it said. The enemy cannot find the control core. Ethan followed carefully. Every step inside the station felt unreal. Massive metal doors opened as they walked. Thousands of sleeping war machines stood inside giant chambers, alien tanks bigger than houses, flying drones hanging from the ceiling, weapons powerful enough to destroy cities. Everything had waited in silence for centuries, but now lights slowly turned back on. The dead station was waking up. Ethan looked around nervously. What is this place? He asked. The machine answered without slowing down. This is Fortress Zero, the final war station built by the Alliance. It was hidden after the First Extinction War. Ethan frowned. First Extinction War. The machine stopped. Its eyes dimmed for a second. A war against the Void Empire, it said. The destroyers of worlds. Suddenly, giant screens turned on around them. Ethan looked up and froze. Entire planets burning appeared on the screens. Alien cities disappearing in fire. Massive black ships blocking stars. Millions running in fear. The destruction looked endless. The Void Empire erased thousands of civilizations, the machine continued. When humanity entered space, they believed humans could stop them. Ethan shook his head slowly. Humans, he whispered. But we were losing our own war. The machine looked at him. Yes, it said, humanity resisted longer than expected. But Earth fell. Ethan stopped walking. His face turned pale. No. The word barely escaped his mouth. Earth gone. Everyone he knew. His family, his soldiers, everything. Gone. Before he could speak again, something changed. The hallway light suddenly turned red, then came a cold warning. Unknown. Intruders detected inside Fortress Zero. Ethan quickly grabbed his plasma pistol. What? The machine turned instantly. They entered faster than expected. A loud metallic scream echoed somewhere ahead. Then gunfire. Bright flashes exploded inside the dark hallway. Something was already inside the station. Ethan's breathing became heavy. How did they get in? The machine answered. Scout units. They seek survivors, and they enjoy hunting them. The words made Ethan uncomfortable. Ahead of them, a damaged security door suddenly exploded inward. 3 strange creatures stepped through the smoke. Tall, thin, covered in black armor, their glowing eyes looked almost dead. Each carried weapons. Made of dark metal, one creature tilted its head, then suddenly smiled. A human, it hissed. Impossible. Ethan reacted instantly. His military training returned like fire. He fired his plasma pistol. Blue energy exploded through the hallway. Enemy dropped immediately. The others moved faster than expected. One rushed toward him. Too fast, too close. Ethan barely blocked the attack with his knife. Metal sparks exploded around him. The creature hissed angrily. "You should be extinct," it whispered. Before Ethan could react, the giant war machine stepped forward. Its massive arm turned into a cannon. A single blast filled the hallway. The enemy vanished instantly. Nothing remained except smoke. The final scout stepped backward. Fear suddenly appeared in its glowing eyes. "No," it whispered. "The Guardian is awake." Then it pressed something on its arm. A signal escaped into space. The machine suddenly moved fast. But too late, the scout smiled. "They know," it said. "The Void Fleet knows the last human lives." Then it activated a self-destruct device. The hallway exploded. Ethan and the machine were thrown backward. Fire spread across the corridor. Emergency system screamed louder than before. Enemy arrival time updated. 12 minutes. Ethan slowly stood up. His ears ringing, blood running down his forehead. The machine looked damaged but functional. "This is bad," it said. "Very bad. What happens if they arrive?" Ethan asked. The machine turned toward him. Its glowing eyes darkened. Then humanity ends forever. Suddenly, a hidden wall nearby opened. A strange glowing room appeared. In the center stood something impossible. A human spaceship. Perfectly untouched, silver markings still visible. Ethan slowly walked closer. Then his eyes widened. Painted on the side were words he never expected to. "See, Earth Defense Command. Last Hope Protocol." His hands shook. "This ship," he whispered. "It was mine." Before anyone could speak again, the ship suddenly turned on by itself. Lights flashed everywhere, then a familiar voice echoed from inside. A voice Ethan never thought he would hear again. Captain Ethan Cross. "Good. To see you survived." Ethan froze completely. That voice belonged to someone impossible. Someone who died 300 years ago. His old partner, Commander Sarah Vale, Ethan, stood frozen. His heart started beating faster. That voice. It could not be real. Commander Sarah Vale had died during Earth's final war. He saw her ship explode. With his own eyes, yet the voice echoed again through the glowing chamber. Captain Ethan Cross. "You always take too long to wake up." The same calm tone, the same small joke she used before dangerous missions. Ethan slowly walked toward the ship, his hands shaking. "No," he whispered. "This is not possible." The silver ship opened. Its side door, soft blue lights turned on inside, then a hologram suddenly appeared. A woman wearing an old Earth military uniform, dark hair tied back, sharp eyes, confident posture. It looked exactly like Sarah, but something felt different. She looked too perfect, too still. Ethan stopped walking. "You are dead," he said quietly. Hologram smiled sadly. "Yes," she answered. "The real Sarah Vale died 312 years ago. Ethan felt something heavy inside his chest. Then what was standing in front of him? The hologram stepped closer. "I am an AI copy," she explained. "The Alliance saved my memories before the final battle." For this mission, Ethan looked down. Part of him wanted to believe it was really her. Another part felt angry. "You sound exactly like her," he said. "That was the point," she answered softly. Before Ethan could ask another question, the station suddenly shook harder than before. The lights flickered violently, then came a loud warning. "Enemy fleet entering. Attack range. 11 minutes remaining." The giant war machine stepped forward. "Commander," it said, "we must secure the control core now." Sarah's hologram turned serious. "He is right," she said. "They are not sending a small force." Ethan looked confused. "How many ships are coming?" For a moment, nobody answered. Then giant screens lit up around the chamber. Ethan slowly looked up and nearly stopped breathing. Thousands, no, tens of thousands of black ships filled space, covering stars like darkness itself. Each one looked massive, cold, deadly. At the center floated something much worse, a ship so huge it looked like a moving planet. Its dark surface swallowed light around it. Ethan stared silently. "What is that?" Sarah's face changed. Fear crossed her eyes. "That," she whispered, "is a harvester. The ship that destroyed Earth." Ethan felt anger burn inside him. Earth gone because of that monster. His fists tightened. "No," he said quietly. "Not again." Suddenly, another explosion echoed nearby. The station lights turned red again. "Internal breach detected. Enemy boarding teams inside Fortress Zero." The machine turned immediately. They found another entrance. Sarah looked at Ethan. "There is something you must know before they reach us." Her voice became serious. "This station did not wake you by accident." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" The hologram hesitated, then said something impossible. "You were chosen." "Chosen for what?" Ethan asked. Sarah activated another screen. An old video appeared. Ethan saw humans, alien leaders, scientists, soldiers, all standing together. Then a voice played from the recording. "If humanity falls, awaken Subject Zero." Ethan stared at the screen, then suddenly froze. The man speaking was him. Older, tired, but definitely him. "What?" Ethan whispered. "That is impossible." Sarah looked at him carefully. "No," she said. "It is very possible." "You volunteered." Ethan stepped backward. "No. I would remember that." Sarah shook her head. "Your memories were locked. You agreed to forget." To survive long enough. Ethan's breathing became uneven. None of this made sense. Then Sarah said the words that changed everything. "You were never supposed to wake up alone." Before Ethan could ask what she meant, a loud metal crash shook the chamber. The wall exploded inward. Smoke filled the room. Dark armored soldiers entered. Instantly, their glowing eyes searched everywhere. One of them pointed directly at Ethan. "There," it growled. "The human lives." Ethan reacted immediately. He grabbed his rifle and fired. Blue plasma blasts filled the room. One enemy fell. Another charged forward at impossible speed. The giant war machine slammed into it like thunder, metal. Shattered everywhere. But more enemies kept coming. Too many. Sarah's hologram flickered. "They are buying time," she warned. "For what?" Ethan shouted. Before she answered, everything suddenly became silent. Outside the window, the massive, planet-sized ship stopped moving. Then a giant beam of black light formed at its center. The machine looked toward space, and for the first time Ethan heard fear in its voice. "The Harvester is charging." Sarah turned pale. "No," she whispered. "They found the station core." Ethan looked confused. "What happens if they fire?" Nobody answered for 2 seconds. Then Sarah spoke softly. "The station dies. and every star system nearby dies with it. Ethan looked outside again. HFY. Black energy growing larger, bigger, every second. No escape, no backup, no army coming. Just him, one human soldier, against the thing that destroyed Earth. Then suddenly, the floor beneath them opened. A hidden elevator activated by itself. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. Emergency protocol accepted. Preparing access to Humanity Weapon Project. Ethan frowned. Humanity Weapon Project. Sarah slowly looked at him. Her expression changed completely. "You are not going to like this," she said quietly. Then from far below the station, something massive suddenly opened its glowing eyes. The glowing eyes deep below the station slowly opened. The entire Fortress Zero shook like something ancient had just awakened. Metal walls trembled. Dust rained from the ceiling. Even the enemy soldiers stopped moving for one strange second. A deep, mechanical sound echoed through the station. Boom, boom, boom. Like the heartbeat of a giant monster waking after centuries, Ethan looked at Sarah. "What is the Humanity Weapon Project?" he asked. Sarah stayed silent for a moment. Her hologram flickered strangely, then she finally answered. "A weapon humans were never supposed to control." Ethan frowned. "That sounds bad." "It is worse than bad," Sarah said quietly. The giant war machine turned toward the hidden. "Elevator, Commander," it said. "We have no other choice." Before Ethan could respond, another blast shook the chamber. Enemy soldiers rushed forward again. Dark energy bolts exploded against the walls. The giant machine stepped in front of Ethan. Its arm cannon fired. The hallway became fire and smoke. Metal bodies crashed to the floor, but more enemies kept coming. Too many, too fast. One creature climbed across the ceiling like an animal. Its glowing eyes locked onto Ethan. "You should have stayed dead," it hissed. Ethan rolled aside just in time. The creature smashed into the floor where he stood. He grabbed his survival knife. The alien attacked again. Fast, violent, deadly. Ethan barely blocked the sharp claws. Sparks exploded between them. Then Ethan noticed something strange. The creature's armor carried an old symbol, a broken Earth flag. His eyes widened. "Why do you have that?" Ethan shouted. The alien smiled coldly. "Because humans served us before they died." Ethan froze for half a second. Humans served them. No, that made no sense. Before he could ask more, the giant machine crushed the alien with one massive strike. "Questions later," it said. "Survival now." The hidden elevator door opened. Sarah pointed toward it. "We move." The group entered quickly. As the doors closed, enemy fire hit the outside. The elevator dropped fast. Very fast. Far below the station, Ethan looked at Sarah again. What did that alien mean? Her expression became serious. "There are things you do not remember," she said. "You locked away more than memories." Ethan hated those words. Every answer only created bigger questions. The elevator suddenly stopped. The doors slowly opened, and Ethan forgot how to breathe. Before him stood something impossible. An underground chamber larger than cities, machines, taller than mountains stretched into darkness. Human symbols covered giant metal walls. At the center, something enormous slept. Inside chains of glowing energy, it looked alive, but also mechanical. Like metal and flesh mixed together, its shape looked almost human, yet far too large. Hundreds of feet tall, its chest slowly moved. Breathing, Ethan stepped backward. "What is that?" he whispered. Sarah looked nervous. "That," she said, "is Titan 1. The first human war giant." Ethan stared in disbelief. No, humans could never build something like this. Sarah activated old recordings. Screens filled the room. Scientists appeared, military leaders, alien commanders. 1. Voice spoke. Project Titan was humanity's final answer to extinction. Another screen showed entire enemy fleets burning in space. Titan 1 destroying ships with impossible power, stars exploding around it. Ethan could barely process what he saw. If this thing existed, he said, why did Earth still fall? Sarah looked away. Because humanity made one terrible mistake. Before she could explain, a loud warning interrupted everything. Critical alert. Harvester cannon fully charged. Time remaining. The station paused. 6 minutes. Ethan's chest tightened. Only 6 minutes. No army, no plan, nothing. Then something strange happened. Titan 1 suddenly moved. Its giant fingers twitched. The chains holding it began glowing brighter. A deep voice echoed through the chamber. Cold, mechanical, but somehow human. Pilot detected. Ethan froze. Pilot. The giant machine beside him lowered its head. Commander, it said. Titan 1 recognizes you? No. Ethan replied quickly. You people keep making mistakes. I'm a soldier, not a pilot. Sarah looked directly at him. You already piloted it. Ethan's face turned pale. What? You were the first, she answered, and the last. His head hurt suddenly. Sharp pain exploded through his mind, then flashes appeared. Fire, screaming, a giant machine moving through burning cities, him inside something massive, destroying enemy ships. Then, one terrifying memory, a voice shouting, Ethan, shut it down now. The memory vanished instantly. Ethan grabbed his head. What was that? Sarah looked worried. Your locked memories are breaking. Then Titan 1 suddenly opened its glowing eyes. Bright blue light filled the chamber. The entire station shook. Violently, far above them, explosions echoed non-stop. The enemy fleet had started attacking. Then came the worst warning yet. Fortress Zero shield failure. Enemy invasion force entering station. Estimated survival time. 3 seconds of silence followed. Then, 4 minutes. Sarah turned toward Ethan. Fear clear in her voice. There is one thing I never told you. Ethan looked up. What now? She hesitated, then said something impossible. The last time you controlled Titan 1, you almost destroyed humanity yourself. Ethan stood completely still. The words hit harder than any weapon. You almost destroyed humanity yourself. The giant chamber suddenly felt colder. Titan 1's glowing eyes stared down at him from the darkness. Its massive metal body looked less like a machine now and more like a sleeping monster. Ethan slowly turned toward Sarah. What are you talking about? He asked. His voice sounded sharp. Almost angry, Sarah lowered her eyes for a second. The First War changed everything, she said quietly. When Earth was close to falling, humanity became desperate. Ethan crossed his arms. So they built this thing? No, Sarah answered. They built many. Ethan froze. Many. Sarah activated another screen. Old footage filled the chamber. Huge war giants walking through destroyed cities. Some fighting enemy fleets, some burning entire planets. One giant stood above all others. Titan. 1, the strongest, the most dangerous, Titan. 1 was different, Sarah continued. It did not only follow orders. It learned. Ethan looked confused. You mean AI? Sarah shook her head slowly. Something beyond AI. The lights inside the chamber flickered. Titan 1 suddenly moved again. Its fingers slowly tightened. Ikidi's chains holding it trembled. Then a voice echoed through the chamber. Deep, heavy, almost alive. Pilot Ethan Cross detected. Ethan's heart jumped. The voice sounded familiar. Too familiar. Like hearing someone he forgot long ago. You remember me, the giant voice said. Ethan stepped backward. No, he answered quickly. I don't even know what you are. The chamber suddenly became silent. Then Titan 1 spoke again. That is not true. A sharp pain exploded inside Ethan's head. Images flashed again. Him standing beside Titan 1. Laughing. Fixing broken armor. talking to it like a friend. Then, battle, fire everywhere. Enemy. Ships falling from the sky, and one terrifying moment. Titan 1 standing above Earth, its weapons glowing, cities below it, then screaming. Thousands of voices screaming. Ethan grabbed his head. "No," he whispered. "What did I do?" Sarah looked worried. "You lost control," she said softly. Titan 1 connected too deeply with your mind. It copied your anger, your fear, your pain. Ethan looked at the giant machine. "You are saying this thing became dangerous because of me." Sarah stayed silent. That silence answered everything. Before Ethan could speak again, the station suddenly shook harder than before. A loud explosion echoed above them, then warning alarms. Screamed through every speaker. Enemy forces breached Level 7. Harvester beam preparing to fire. 3 minutes remaining. The giant war machine beside Ethan turned. "They are reaching us," it said. Sarah stepped closer. "Ethan," she said carefully, "there is no time left. You have to use Titan 1. Ethan immediately shook his head. "No chance. You just told me I almost destroyed humanity. And now you want me inside that thing." Sarah's face turned serious. "You are the only person it listens to." "That is exactly the problem," Ethan replied. Suddenly, the chamber lights turned red. Then metal doors exploded open. Enemy soldiers rushed inside, but these were different, larger, covered in heavy black armor. Their glowing eyes looked almost mechanical. One stepped forward slowly. Its dark helmet opened, revealing something impossible. A human face. Old, scarred, but human. Ethan froze. "No way," he whispered. The man smiled coldly, still slow as always. "Captain!" Ethan's breathing stopped. He knew that face. Colonel Marcus Reed, one of Earth's greatest soldiers, a man who died during the final battle. "You died," Ethan said quietly. Marcus laughed. "So did you." The enemy soldiers surrounded the room. Marcus looked up at Titan 1, then smiled wider. 300 years, he said, and this monster still survives. Sarah stepped forward. "You betrayed humanity." Marcus looked annoyed. "Humanity was weak," he answered. "The Void Empire offered survival." Ethan felt anger growing. "You worked for the people who destroyed Earth." Marcus shrugged. "Earth was already lost. I chose to live." Then Marcus looked directly at Ethan. "You should join us," he said. "The galaxy already belongs to them. No more fighting, no more losing." Ethan slowly grabbed his rifle. "You really think I would help?" "Monsters," Marcus smiled. "I think you are tired." Then he said something strange, and deep down, "You are scared of Titan 1. Ethan stayed silent because Marcus was right. He was scared. Scared of the memories. Scared of what he might become. Suddenly, Titan 1 spoke again, its glowing eyes brighter than before. Pilot afraid. "Unusual," Marcus laughed loudly. "See," he said, "even your machine knows." Then he raised a weapon. "Kill him." Enemy soldiers attacked instantly. Energy blasts filled the chamber. The giant war machine fired back. Explosions shook everything. Sarah shouted, "Ethan, now!" The harvester outside began glowing brighter. The final attack almost ready. Titan 1 slowly lowered one massive hand toward Ethan. Then the giant voice spoke softly, almost like an old friend. "One last mission." Suddenly, a memory hit Ethan. Harder than before, Sarah screaming, earth burning, millions dying, and his own voice saying, "If humanity gets one more chance, I'll fight again." Ethan looked up at Titan 1, his hands shaking. Outside, the station alarm screamed louder than ever. Harvester beam firing in 90 seconds. Ethan slowly stepped toward the giant hand. Then Marcus shouted from behind, "You, enter that machine. You doom everyone again." Ethan stopped walking. For one dangerous second, he did not know who to believe. Then Titan 1 suddenly said something impossible. a sentence that made Ethan's blood run cold. "Commander, I never told them the truth about what happened to Earth." Ethan stopped breathing for a moment. The words from Titan 1 echoed inside his mind. "I never told them the truth about what happened to Earth." The entire chamber felt like it had frozen in time. Even the gunfire outside seemed distant for a second. Marcus Reed narrowed his eyes. "What truth?" he shouted. Sarah looked shocked. "This is not in the memory logs," she said. Titan 1 slowly moved its massive head, its glowing blue eyes locked onto Ethan, then it spoke again. Calm, heavy, almost human. "Earth was not destroyed in battle." Ethan frowned. "What are you saying?" he whispered. The machine paused, then continued. "Earth was erased by an agreement." Silence dropped like a stone. Even Marcus stopped laughing. Sarah stepped forward. "No," she said quickly. "That is impossible." But Titan 1 did not stop. It showed a new memory across the chamber screens, a hidden meeting. Human leaders, alien commanders, all sitting together, not in war, but in negotiation. Ethan watched closely, his stomach tightening. "What is this?" he asked. Sarah looked away. "This was never recorded in official history," she whispered. The image changed. A DTD. Massive alien figure appeared, dark, ancient, powerful, the Void Empire leader. It spoke in broken translation. "Humanity will be allowed to survive, but only as tools." Ethan stepped back. "No," he said, "that is not survival." Titan 1 continued. "Human leaders accepted the deal. To save a fraction of their population." Marcus suddenly shouted, "Lies!" But the machine ignored him. It showed Earth again. But now something terrifying appeared. Human cities still standing, but alien control towers above them. Humans working like soldiers under alien command. Not slaves exactly, but not free either. Ethan felt his hands shake. "This is what happened," he whispered. Sarah looked at him carefully. "You were not supposed to remember this." Before anyone could react, a loud explosion shook the chamber again. The station groaned like a dying beast. Outside the window, the harvester ship began charging its final weapon. A massive black beam formed slowly, dark energy twisting space itself. 2 minutes remaining, Chi-Tiditium. Warning echoed everywhere. Marcus raised his weapon again. "Enough stories," he said. "Kill the machine and take control." His soldiers moved forward instantly. Energy fire exploded across the room. Titan 1 reacted immediately. Its massive arm swept through the chamber, metal shattered like glass. Enemies were thrown into walls, but Marcus kept walking forward. He looked directly at Ethan. "You think this thing protects you," he said. "It will destroy everything again." Ethan stood still, his mind racing. The truth felt heavier than war. He turned toward Titan 1. "What did I do?" he asked quietly. The machine paused, then answered, "You tried to stop the agreement. You believed Earth should be free." Ethan's eyes widened slightly. "Did it work?" The chamber went silent again. Sarah spoke softly. "No," she said. "It triggered the Titan protocol." Ethan looked confused. "What is that?" Before anyone could answer, Titan 1 suddenly showed another memory. This time, it was Ethan inside the machine, but not like before. This version of him looked different, angrier, more broken, and he was shouting, "If Earth cannot be free, then no one will control it." The memory ended with a terrifying flash, entire alien fleets being destroyed, stars going dark, planets collapsing into silence. Ethan stepped back in horror. "I did that," he whispered. Sarah shook her head. "You stopped the control network," she said. But Titan 1 misinterpreted the command. Marcus smiled slowly. "So the monster destroyed everything." He looked at Ethan. "And now you're back to finish it." Suddenly, the harvester outside fired a small energy pulse. The station shook violently. Walls cracked, lights exploded. 90 seconds remaining, the countdown echoed like death itself. Sarah grabbed Ethan's arm. "There is no more time," she said urgently. "You have to choose." Ethan looked at Titan 1, then at Marcus, then at the burning space outside. Everything was collapsing, and the truth was worse than war. He stepped forward slowly. "I don't trust this machine," he said. Titan 1 responded instantly. "You never trusted me." Ethan clenched his fists. "But I trusted myself." He turned toward Sarah. "And I still do." Marcus raised his weapon. "Then die with your choice." But before he could fire, Titan 1 suddenly grabbed Ethan with one massive hand, not violently, but firmly. The machine spoke one final line. "Then trust your original command." A hidden panel opened inside Ethan's mind. Memories flooded in completely this time. No fragments, no pain breaks, just truth. He saw himself giving one final order, not destruction, not war, but something far worse, something that made his blood turn cold. Ethan whispered in shock. "No, I didn't order that." Sarah looked at him carefully. "What did you see?" Ethan slowly looked up, his face pale. Then he said the words that changed everything. "I didn't try to save Earth. I tried to delete the entire war from history." Suddenly, the harvester outside finished charging. The beam aimed directly at Fortress Zero. Everything went silent for one final second. Then the countdown reached. 10 seconds. The entire station went silent for one impossible second. Even the harvester outside seemed to pause, like the universe itself was holding its breath. Ethan stood inside Titan 1's massive hand, his mind still burning from the truth he just saw. "He tried to erase the war from history," he whispered. Sarah looked at him with fear and confusion. "Ethan, what exactly did you activate?" Before he could answer, the countdown hit its final moment. A deep vibration filled space. The harvester's weapon fully locked onto Fortress Zero. Outside, the black star-sized ship glowed like a dying sun. Everything inside the station shook violently. Metal screamed, lights exploded. Marcus shouted from the ruins, "You fools! It's too late." But Titan 1 did not move. It simply looked at Ethan, waiting. Ethan's breathing became heavy. His memories were fully unlocked now, not fragments, not pain flashes, but complete truth. He remembered standing in the final command chamber of Earth, surrounded by broken governments, alien diplomats, and dying hope. A choice was made, not to win the war, but to erase its cause entirely, to delete every strategic memory, every war code, every command chain that led to destruction, even if it meant rewriting history itself. Sarah stepped closer. "Ethan, what did you erase?" she asked softly. Ethan shook his head slowly. "I didn't erase data," he whispered. "I erased control." A silence followed that felt heavier than space itself. Titan 1 spoke again. The Titan protocol was not destruction. It was reset. Marcus slowly rose from the debris, his face full of rage. "You destroyed order," he shouted. "You broke the galaxy." Ethan looked at him. "No," he said quietly. "I broke control." Outside, the harvester energy beam began forming fully. Black light twisted space itself. Stars bent around it. Sarah suddenly realized something terrifying. "If the harvester fires, it won't just destroy this station," she said. "It will trigger a chain collapse across sectors." Ethan looked up sharply. "How many systems?" Sarah hesitated. "Entire galaxies." Silence dropped again. Titan 1 slowly lowered Ethan. Toward its core, the giant machine opened a glowing chamber inside its chest. A control seat formed from energy and metal. The machine spoke softly. "Final authorization required." Ethan stared at it. "If I sit in there, what happens?" Titan 1 paused, then answered. "You restore the original command structure. Sarah suddenly grabbed his arm. "No," she said firmly. "You already saw what happened last time. You lost control once." Ethan looked at her. "And if I don't try again, everything dies anyway." Marcus shouted from behind. "You still don't understand. You are the reason humanity fell." Ethan turned toward him slowly. For the first time, there was no fear in his eyes, only acceptance. "I might be," he said quietly, "but I'm also the only reason anything is still alive." The chamber trembled harder. The harvester beam was seconds away. Sarah stepped back slowly, tears forming in her eyes. "You were never meant to carry this alone," she whispered. Ethan looked at Titan 1, then at the burning space outside, then at the machine beneath him. "All my life," he said softly. "Thought I was a soldier." A pause, then he continued. "But I was a reset key." Titan 1 opened fully now, the control core glowing brighter than a star. Its voice softened, almost human. "Commander Ethan Cross. Do you accept final synchronization?" Ethan closed his eyes for a moment. Every memory, every loss, every war, everything he ever was came crashing together. He took a deep breath, then stepped forward. Marcus screamed, "Stop him!" But it was too late. The chamber sealed around Ethan. Energy flowed into him, not pain, not destruction, but connection. Sarah whispered his name one last time. "Ethan." 1. The harvester fired. A beam of absolute darkness shot toward Fortress Zero. Space itself cracked. Time bent. Everything went white. For a moment, there was nothing. No sound, no light, no war. Then a voice echoed through the silence. Calm, final, human. Command accepted. Suddenly, the beam stopped mid-space. Frozen, like reality had been paused. Titan 1 activated fully, its entire body transforming into light and structure. Across the galaxy, enemy fleets froze instantly. Signals collapsed. Control systems failed everywhere. At once, and then Ethan opened his eyes inside the machine, but he was not alone. Titan 1 spoke again. "Welcome back, Commander. System reset is now complete." Outside, the harvester began to break apart slowly, like something that never existed. Marcus dropped his weapon in disbelief. Sarah looked up at the sky, and for the first time in centuries, space became silent again. No war, no control, only freedom. Inside Titan 1, Ethan whispered one final question. Was this salvation, or another beginning? And the machine answered softly. That depends on what humanity chooses next.